People.
So listening, pay attention. Oh, yeah.
You're looking for capitals?
Addressing the needs of gifted and talented students in mixed ability classes has aroused considerable debate, but little consensus. John Bailey has come to North London to see how two teachers are approaching it.
Everybody jump to the I'm so funky fresh, fresh. Everybody jump to the I'm so funky fresh. That would sound quite nice on top of a boom, cha, cha, boom. You can imagine it, yeah? All right, let's do it.
Daniel Smith is in his 4th year as a music teacher at Capital City Academy in Willesden. He came here on the graduate teacher programme. His love of music and rapport with his students are his great strengths.
You're a musician?
Yeah.
And you're not gigging at the moment?
No. I mean, the way the story goes, obviously, you got the Chinese Whispers, but I was a musician in that we were a band held together by the lead singer. He was, I want to be a singer, I want to get signed. And we were all people that love music, the bass, the drums, the trumpet, the keyboard player, who all we went to college together. So we played on his demo circuit, which we were playing quite a lot. So that stopped. Then I had a son as well. So this life took over. I'm trying to make you make a melody to some specific chords. So we're going to still stick with that theme, but now we have a few more rules because we're going to deal with something called a waltz. This is the rhythm for it. As soon as you hear it, you recognize it. You've seen it in films, you've seen it in cartoons. Yeah, simple. Pa, pa. Yeah? You hear the music going along. Pa, 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 pa.
Daniel's teaching a mixed ability Year 10 class. It's the beginning of their GCSE course, and he's explaining some basic concepts.
So, I want you to choose any groove, yeah, any chord progression, go to the keyboard, pa, pa, with your left hand, but with the right hand, only use one note per pa, pa. So, for example, like this. Only use one here. And try and hold it down. There you go. But choose the groove, though. Choose a groove.
At the moment, Daniel is not specifically targeting the more talented students, like Akim and Naomi.
What experiences are these relatively gifted children going to have in this lesson? What might they do or experience that won't happen to the others?
Well, it's a double lesson, so
yeah.
I would say if it hadn't been a single lesson, they would get that breakthrough feeling that these lot might not reach.
Okay.
That moment of, oh, I've got it. Generally, you know, they'll get the chance to have that kind of relief or enjoyment out of having cracked the puzzle, as it were.
Yeah. Okay.
You know. Yeah. Oops, there's no number 2 on that paper. Do it slower, it's too fast. I'll come back, it's too fast. Right, show me, play a normal triad. It's a normal triad. Yeah.
Most of Daniel's time is taken up helping the majority of students to grasp the basics, like how to play a triad.
Yeah, pa, pa. You should be using your left hand, shouldn't you? Yeah?
What do you think of the idea of some basic skills starters?
Yeah, I mean, the silly thing is they're all there, I've made them, but because it's my fault, it's like programming. Because they're Year 10s, I'm trying to treat them as Year 10s. So little things like the triad, I've got a rotating PowerPoint. The first letter comes up, and they've got about 2 seconds in which to say the other 3 and 5 that are missing. So everything is there, but it's like a program thing. It's like, oh, these Year 10s, so I'm not going to do that. I want them to remember. We've been doing it 3 weeks. Why can't they remember? If they need to remember, look in a folder. But yeah, I could. You reckon that is a waltz? Yeah. So in terms of ums and pas, it's going pa 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 pa. Yeah. All right.
Do we ever use any of our children to get stuff quicker to help to work with these?
Yeah, every now and then. Because it's the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
We're at a stage where even these guys need to be listening and soaking it in. So, for example, in year 9 is something we do a lot because the work will be at this level. Anyone who's good will finish, and we'll just go, all right, go and help someone else. It's like we treat it like a germ, like a virus. So it's like you help someone, they'll help someone, and it just spreads through the class. Obviously, we're at the beginning of the year, so it kind of reached a stage where we're still breaking in lots of new things. Put your name and date on this sheet, please.
It's the final part of the lesson, and Daniel is asking the students to compose their own waltz by choosing a chord progression.
So before we even look at the sheet, let's imagine this was a chord 6. What would be my 3 notes? Imagine this is a chord 6. What would be my 3 notes?
1, 6, 1, 2.
I can't remember. A, C, E.
Yeah, you shouldn't have shouted out, but yeah. A, C, E, right? Let's see how you go.
But after a few minutes, it's clear that some students are struggling.
Where's A on here? Down there. Yeah, A, C, E, isn't it?
There are some children in the room who are at full stretch trying to understand how the triads work and how what the first chord and the third chord and the fifth chord is and how to sequence it is. And they're just hanging onto their hats. And I think that for some children here, it's a bit of a blur. And then when you go on to say, choose your groove, fit some chords, fill in the cymbals, put in the melody, it's all too much.
Yeah.
They're some of these kids are out of the picture here. And as a matter of fact, I think in a mild way, maybe you began to get a bit irritated yourself.
Probably. What chords are these? What are they? What chords? What groove have you chosen? From here.
I chose my one, this one. The one that we made up last time.
6, 5, 4, 4. Right, so the ticket is not there, so you write it on, convert it so I can just look at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Having to do a lot of mopping up now, aren't you? And it feels to me like it's keeping you away from some of the children who could do a bit more.
Follow the sheet. I can't say anything else on that. Yeah, if you follow the sheet, it's just easy. Yeah?
Follow the sheet. I can't say anything else to you. If you just follow the sheet, it's easy. You see, what I'm thinking about your gifted and talented children, about your more able children in the room, is they didn't get very much of your time. In this lesson, I think there were 2 ways in which they could have been stretched. They could have gone and done some explaining to other students, which would probably not have been appropriate in this lesson because they were taking a lot of new material on themselves. So the other way to stretch them would have been for them to get more of your time and for you to be putting, on the one hand, putting more pressure on them to get finished, and on the other hand, doing more extended questioning with them, checking on their understanding.
At Copeland School in Wembley, mixed ability classes in English are the norm.
As you're going along, see if you can think about the themes to write in here, okay?
Okay. Who's the read?
John's come to watch Fiona O'Sullivan, a young head of faculty who's only been teaching for 3 years.
What was it like when you first started?
It was tough, I won't lie. It was quite tough at first, especially being quite young, being female. Some of the boys in particular kind of pushed their luck a little bit with regards to behaviour. But I spent, I'd say, the first term working very hard on the behaviour side of things. And then after that, you can think more about the learning that's taken place in the lesson.
Said she wanted to teach us.
Fiona's Year 11
Because you're right,
class
that
is
does
studying
show
the
us a lot
classic
about
text
courage.
To Kill a Mockingbird and its exploration of racism in 1930s America.
We finished reading part 1, so we're just going to find out a little bit more about it by looking at the different characters, themes and events that we've heard about, okay?
Fiona's approach is different from Daniel's. She differentiates by giving higher ability students like Sophie, Neelam and Richus, more demanding worksheets than the rest of the class.
I like to really stretch them. I ask them open questions, and then once I get an answer to the question, I'll then ask them another one to draw on what they've said. So hopefully they get to the stage where they're really analysing the points they make.
Richards, I'm going to ask you a question now about Mrs. Dubose. Nora said that she's quite brave. Did we always think she was brave, or do you think that's something that developed later on?
It developed after her death.
Good. And through which character did we find out more about Mrs. Dubose?
Atticus.
OK, can you remember anything that he told us?
He said that she wanted to die with her senses about her.
Good, well done. So that shows true bravery, well done.
So the gifted and talented they're getting open questions, and they're getting some questioner stringing.
That's right.
So I answer a question and you'll say, tell me a bit more.
That's right.
Or in what other circumstance might that happen. So I'm being pulled along that way.
Mm-hmm. Those of you in group 1, I'd like you to put the character cards in this column, then match the descriptions to the characters, and finally match the themes to the appropriate characters and descriptions.
In this theme card activity, the majority of the class is in Group 1. The more able students, in Group 2, have to do a little extra.
Those of you in Group 2 don't get the theme cards. You think of the themes that you think can be linked to the characters and then write them in the last column. OK.
That's Atticus. That's Atticus. Put Atticus. And Mrs. Dubose's inspirational.
You and just be quiet so we can feedback.
It's like traditional life. I think this one is...
Although the higher ability students are doing more challenging work, John feels Fiona could adopt a more radical approach.
Traditional life.
If we took them out into a withdrawal room and you wanted to really engage them and really give them a good rinsing, what sort of things might we do with them in a circumstance like that?
Perhaps the group interaction may be slightly more dynamic because they would all be, you'd assume, on the same level, and they would be demanding answers from each other, where normally in a class I would ask the follow-up questions.
I've got one too, which is we might make the extension work, move from it being to more of the same to being something, there's a frightening character in the book. If you wanted to portray them as a character in The Simpsons, what devices might you use?
Yeah.
So that you're banging them on the side of the head and saying, step right back and get into the whole authorial and imaginative world and see what you do with it.
So they were people, but they lived like animals. Who's it talking about? The Yules. Good, well done. Think of the choice of the word animals, OK? What does that depict? What vision of them do we get? OK?